My life changed forever when I learned how to mastermind with my wife. And to go back into what that even is, I really like to pull up the Napoleon Hill. It's a Napoleon Hill concept. And the idea is that a group of people get together, focus on something, and then what happens is that there's a collective mind that's almost, it's a higher version of the mind that was in the individual with the problem. And that as this group of highly functioning individuals get together to listen to a solution, it's almost like a new thought arose that was something that none of them could have pulled together on their own. So there's this spiritual and logical fusing together of thought. And so that's what happened in my marriage. And actually, I wish it had happened earlier on, but it didn't happen until I'll get into some of the reasons of really kind of what spawned it and what was covering it up, what was stopping it and prohibiting it, because maybe that might be the same in your life. You might, I think we all have access to this, but you might be allowing other things to cover and to get in the way of this thing like I was. So it wasn't even until, probably 2016. So it's only been 6 years that we've been doing this. And the result of it has been crazy. Our income has gone up 4 or 5 times since then. My time availability has also increased. We have been able to create amazing adventures, whereas before we'd just been living, I don't want to say a mundane life, but just typical middle American life. Really the program that most of us are functioning on by default. That's where we were living, other than the fact that we had 8 children, but just a nice, probably lower middle class family, I would say, maybe middle class family. Sometimes, upper middle class. It's like it was fluctuating, with time and money. But we lived in the same place that we'd had all of our children, same place where we met for 20 years. Until we started to mastermind. And so what happened by accident really was we began to come together and to dream together. And in the process of dreaming, it's almost like one of those things of like, well, what do you want? What do you really want? I think as grown-ups, right, we tend to look at the things that like, well, I can't because of this or because of that, right? And so those things come up. So those issues come up. But the neat thing is that when you have someone who is there in the same spirit, in the spirit of belief, in the spirit of expectation that there is an answer to the problem, suddenly a new innovation, like this like something comes into being that did not exist before. And so that's what I really want to talk about. Some of the things that we have done since we started masterminding together. We left everything, like almost within 6 months of us doing this, we actually started living the life that we both had wanted, but we felt like we couldn't get to. And that involved travel. It involved, a certain type of time and family and financial abundance that we had never known before, hadn't seen it on any level. So we had, well, let's just see. I'm just doing a review of the past 6 years. We moved out of our city. We moved around America and Mexico. Every 3 months, we would go to a different Airbnb, and really, we were able to slow travel and give our family and our children an experience that was life-changing, right? So we did that. I've learned another language. I've learned skills. I know I learned surfing. What else did I learn? I don't know. Actually, I got a couple of hobbies. One of the, surfing is a newer hobby. Hiking, mountain climbing is certainly a hobby. We were able to come back and move into a place that we wanted to be at. Always we'd fantasized about living here on the beach. I feel like actually the business that I now run, it came from that. It came from really, again, like what it is, what I wanted. And so a lot of what's happened as a result is we've stepped out of this whole thing of what we can't do and what we need to wait on, and we've really been walking in permission, and in some ways almost like we're partners in daring each other. We travel all the time. We take trips. Again, I mentioned our finances have increased a lot. And I wouldn't say, like, I feel like that when you get to a place, it actually opens up another vista, right? Another view, so that you can see something new to go and do. And that's the beautiful thing. So there are plenty of things right now that we're looking at, but I just wanted to give an idea of what happens where you are almost empowered and enabled to step out of normal, right? And to embrace the full flavor of life. And certainly there's been risk and failure, right? It hasn't been all perfect, but I'm married to my best friend. I'm raising my other best friends and our children. Well, let's kind of move past that. I wanted to give an idea, though, what it's actually brought is of great value. To look back at the initial idea of what Napoleon Hill brought forth, the idea is that other people, there's a such thing as people who are multipliers. So when he was talking about getting together with other, intelligent business people, he wasn't bringing just anyone in, right? He was bringing people who were of high value, who were of high belief, and it's almost like there was, I believe they started from the aspect, I love how Marie Forleo puts it. They started with the mindset that everything is figure-outable. Right? Everything can be figured out. There's an answer. And even if the individual doesn't have it, collectively, there's something that would happen in spiritual matters, that there would be an answer delivered, at least something to act upon. So that was the way that worked. Now, for us, we'd been married, by the time we'd gotten to there, we'd probably been married 20 years already. And trust me, my friend, not all of those years were, lollipops and rainbows, okay? A lot of it felt, not a lot, parts of it definitely felt like sacrifice and difficulty and all of the things that people tell you go into marriage. It's only been really in the last 6 years. I'd wish I'd figured this out earlier, but it's only been in the last 6 years that we've been able to tap into the infinite genius of our Creator by being with each other. The origin of it for us, it actually happened because we were pulling away from the church that we were a part of. There were just certain things that were being put out there that we had ascribed to for a long time, and we realized that they had been, at least for us at the phase where we were at, it was limiting, right? There was control. There was just some things that were a part of this church that it was just no longer where we were at, and that. It's a whole chapter in and of itself. But what we did instead was we gave ourselves permission to stop going to church. Now, I'm not telling anyone to stop going to church. Go to church by all means. But with us, it actually carried something different. We weren't just like, hey, wake up on Sundays and get dressed up and go and come back. That was not how we were in. Even though that in and of itself produced a lot of work, just because getting 8 kids ready every week became a circus, to be honest with you. But 15, 17, 18 years, something like that, we'd been doing it at the same place. But for us, there was a huge resources element that was not available to us because I served. We served in ministries. We went to different prayers. We did it consumed a large bandwidth of time. Because of that, there was not maybe space that was that we could do other stuff with. Right? There wasn't anything that we could. I'm trying to think of the word, but there was no leftovers. There was no leftovers, and so the result of it was we did the same thing every day. Not now. So once we left the church, it gave us a different amount of time. And then one of the things we started doing was we started meeting. We started dreaming. And we started wondering what kind of vision God had for us. And we really came to believe and see ourselves as co-creators, as children of the beloved that could begin to create what was in our hearts to create. And we started dreaming. And as we started dreaming, I would say a what if materialized, and then a plan. And then from that plan, actual actions. And then from a few of those actual actions, these things came into being. So it's almost like we were able to reach in to the unknown, the unseen, and create something beautiful from that. So back to the Napoleon Hill mindset thought. Being together with a multiplier, with the mindset that there is not really limitation, but that we have the ability to materialize an answer, to create what we want from what we already have. That is what we began doing. And that's what we've been doing ever since. We still get together regularly with that mindset. As a matter of fact, I'm going to leave here in a minute. And we're going to have a business meeting because we go through our finances together, and business and family, and that's like a lot of that's connected to what we want. So why don't people mastermind with their spouse? What gets in their way? And for some people, it might be time is covered because you're raising small kids, because you're both working jobs, because the business requires this. And it's almost like the requirements of what's out there is choking out your time, and so that you actually are not giving yourself access to the genius that's within. And when you are with your spouse in the masterminding mindset, it multiplies, right? It allows you access to that. What else gets in the way? I think a lot of us, we come into marriage and we actually don't get on the same page. And so when we started visioneering together, we realized that in a lot of ways we weren't on the same page. And so here's my advice for that. Go through a list of questions. Actually, I'll link on this video a list of questions that you can actually have, that you can get together with your spouse. Go through it and understand that when you answer the questions, when your spouse answers those questions, you're going to have different answers. And that's actually what you've been living with up until now. And when you know that they're going to answer differently, what it feels like is almost like, well, if they answer different, that's a threat to my thing. And so what we do is we kind of tend to silo ourselves rather than having access to the places. And where I'm going with this, when we find those areas of overlap where she believes in it and I believe in it and she wants it and I want it, those are areas where we can concentrate effort and see multiplied exponential results. And so go through the questions, ask yourself the questions, she asked herself the questions, review your answers. And actually the cool thing is, as you get a chance to know your spouse, don't require them to have the same answers as you. Don't get discouraged if their answers are different. That's a place of strength. Be in wonder, be in awe, and look for those things, look for those couple of areas where you really are in alignment. And what I find a lot of times is those things tend to be adventurous type of things or experience type of things that's what you came together for in the beginning of your relationship anyway. And those are things that we tend to almost sacrifice because we think we have to be grown-ups with 401ks and retirements, and we forget to live. And no wonder, by the way, our youth is not getting married, because what they see is a group of sourpuss adults who gave up everything so that they could raise, we make like this family thing such an act of anger almost. Instead, I think if you can reconnect with those initial sparks, those desires that you held together even before kids, and allow those things to begin to catch a blaze again, what you're doing is you start to live a life that you're in love with. Your kids see that love, and it's, I believe, empowering for them, because they're not going to do what you tell them. They're going to do what you do, right? So those are some of the things that keep us from it. And I guess like my question is to you is like, how can you find a place to where you're actually engaging this mastermind? And the very first thing I would say is like, can you find a place to dream together? And a place means a literal place, like get away from the laundry and in the house and the mess. Go to a coffee shop, go to the beach, go to the lake, go to a trail, go to wherever it is that you can be alone without kids and without life looking at you. Turn off gravity for just a little bit and dream. Answer the questions that I've that are linked here. You can just say, well, who do we want to be? What the heck do we want? Here's what I want. What do you want? careful not to argue. By the way, for years, it just, again, like I felt like we were in opposition to each other. And if you mentioned what you wanted to the other person, it almost felt like you had to have a counter argument ready. Since we've been masterminding, none of that has been necessary because we've realized and seen that this powerful desire in this other person is not threatening to the powerful desire inside of you. It's not either or. It's really, this whole proposition is an and proposition. And as a believer in Christ, I believe that where two or more are gathered with that mindset, Christ is there among them. And so for us, we have absolute access to the Christ mind, to the genius that can bring an answer. And so find a place, ask some questions. I have a couple of challenges, that we'll link here. I may actually bring Chris in, and maybe we'll chat about this together and share some of that. But I've got to tell you, the adventure that we have found before the kids are out of the house, before we reach retirement, before we're living now in our youth. My God, I wish I'd found this earlier. And hopefully, this is something that rattles your cage a little bit and provokes you to jump into something that you're in love with. Boy, when you're living a life that you love, it's easier to love yourself. When you love yourself, you're going to be great to everyone else around you. When you're great to everyone else around you, you think that doesn't impact your business? It does. It does. So, if you're married, find a way. Get on the same page and begin the process. Access the mastermind that exists when you and your spouse are together. Together we're better. See you on the journey.